And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the Oscar Robertson episode. The 6'5", 205-pound point guard is a one-time champ, one-time MVP, a 12-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA, playing 14 years in the league after being the number 1 overall pick, and he is a Hall of Famer. With career averages of 25, 7, and 9 on 48% shooting. And since I didn't ask first, I guess I'll go to me, who has Oscar ranked the lowest at 33 overall and 6 on his point guard list. First off, I'll say I got his pace-adjusted stats. I know we've done this for a lot of the old-timers. His pace-adjusted stats are 25, so his points per game did not go down. I don't know if that was a mistake or if that was really what it is, but we'll go with it. 25, 5, and 6. So he drops 2 rebounds and 3 assists off his career averages. So 25, 5, and 6. I don't have a ton on Oscar. Obviously, Oscar's a great player. I knew before this, but it is a fairly recent addition to my Oscar knowledge of how big of an asshat he was and how nobody liked him. I learned that just a couple years ago. So it was interesting looking more into that. And how, like Rick Barry, all of his teammates hated him because he was such a prick to him all the time. And so I don't know. I have my wonders now whether that played into why he couldn't win until he went to play with Kareem and Dandridge. Or whether he was like a Westbrook-esque type player, the kind of guy that puts up huge numbers, but it's because, he's really selfish and, is stat hunting. Obviously, I'm not going to know the answer because 99% of his games aren't taped, so we can't even watch. So, by the way, I know I brought this up in another episode. I've been doing a lot of research on Russell and Chamberlain for the upcoming episodes on those guys. Russell has 134 games that you can go back and look at, or maybe not we, but somebody can. And Wilt has 121. So they're not huge, massive numbers, but a decent amount of games that were taped or something, whatever they did then. There would have been actual film then. But anyway, just an interesting thing. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot on Oscar. I do have him the lowest by quite a bit for Doug, Drew, and Wade, but Ray's only got him one spot up for me. So I guess I'll kick to Ray. Man, I'm a mess. Ray, who has him 32 overall and 5 on his point guard list. Ray?
All right, so he had an insane rookie season, insane stat line for about 10 years in Cincy. But since I never got to see him play, I'll just put on my Jimmy Olsen hat, and I'll just ask some questions. So, first question. So, was the Royals' talent pool that bad that it held Oscar back from winning a title, or that Oscar was a selfish player and he held himself back? Anybody in the crew?
Oh, you're really asking us this question?
Yeah, I'm asking questions. Yeah.
I was looking at my list for something. What did you say?
Okay. Was the Royal talent pool that bad that it held Oscar back from winning a title, or Oscar just a selfish player and he held himself back?
The stuff that I read, and I have seen Oscar play actually, but that's with the Bucks, was that he never could get past Boston and Philly, which Philly was Chamberlain at the time, and of course Boston was Russell and all them.
I have a screenshot I'm going to share when it's my turn about young Oscar, that in what he was doing and what his team was doing around him, and
okay,
I'll answer that.
All right,
my turn.
Roger that. Then I'll just go ahead and do. Let's see. I guess the follow-up question of the first one. So he got traded to Milwaukee, and he played with a young Lou Alcindor, a.k.a. Kareem, and won a title. So that confirmed that he had to be selfish to win, or is that just another great player that needed complement to his game?
Oh, we're asking again?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. This is my whole thing is questions.
I mean, I didn't watch Oscar play.
I definitely
don't
didn't
know.
watch Oscar play, so I'm not.
I feel like a lot of the stuff is stuff you find out by actually watching the person play.
Right.
That stuff.
What about you, Doug? You got anything on that one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he fit in well with Jabbar and Dandridge. Part of what you have to understand about Oscar is where he grew up and how he grew up. He grew up in an extremely poor part of Indiana. He went to Crispus Attucks High School. He won like 2 state titles. And before he came, the other schools in the state oftentimes wouldn't even play him. But he was so good that they wanted to play, and they won 45 games in a row at one point. He had one undefeated season, and then part of another one. And he was bitter about the way he was treated, and he tended to hold grudges. They say, of course, when he was drafted by Cincinnati, it was a territorial pick.
Okay.
They didn't have the first pick in the draft. The first pick in the draft was Minnesota, and they took Jerry West. But Cincinnati got the first pick because they used their territorial pick, because he was from Indiana.
Right.
And Cincy, right there, they were able to take him ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, if you look at Cincinnati's roster, there's at least like 3-4 guys from the college Cincinnati on it.
Yeah.
So because
right.
they
grabbed
the
those
territory
guys
stuff.
because
Yeah.
you could give up your first round pick and just take somebody from your territory.
Oh, okay.
And part of the Cincinnati, Ohio, all that was not happy when he was traded to Milwaukee. There was a lot of questions about why. And part of them, people think it's because of Bob Cousy. Cousy was the coach at that time, and I don't think he and Oscar saw eye to eye. And a lot of people think that Cousy shipped him down the road, which ultimately ended up with him getting a title. So it worked out fine for him. But there's a lot of things there. I mean, Oscar, he could be kind of edgy.
Well, I actually listened to an interview where they were talking to some of his teammates, and they're like, seriously, he held you to a higher standard than he held himself. Like, if you ever made a mistake, if you missed a defensive assignment, if you made a turnover, if you missed a shot, he screamed and yelled at you for like the next 2 or 3 possessions. Like, cussed you out, called you names, told you were worthless. Like, to the point where it made you even more nervous. So I don't want to deal with this again in 5 minutes. So, like, you didn't want to play anymore. Like, not like you wanted to leave the court, but like, don't pass me the ball. Like, I don't want it no more. Like, he played with Hall of Famers. Like, he had multiple Hall of Famers on his team. I mean, some of them like, not just like bums that we don't even know who they are. Like, he played with Jerry Lucas for years in Cincinnati. He played with Jack Twyman, Bob Love played with him, Bob Boozer played with him. So I mean, like, Bob Boozer's not a Hall of Famer though. He played with some guys we knew, but like, yes, but I have heard the whole, like, he was very bitter about the way he was treated when he was younger, and it came out in other ways.
Okay, so I got 2 more. The third one's more of a recent comparison. So Oscar is the original Mr. Triple-Double till last season, or whenever Westbrook took the top spot. Now, that doesn't make Westbrook a better player, as we all know, as we've seen thoroughly throughout his career, and that Westbrook can't really figure out his identity of his game. Then we've seen Oscar's stat line go down when he gets traded to Milwaukee, and that stat decrease led to a championship. So since we've have 2 players that we can compare because they have the similar stat line, what makes Oscar better than Westbrook? They do have similar stats. Westbrook's got triple-double record. So why is Oscar a better player than Westbrook?
Well, for one, I think Oscar's a better shooter.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's definitely a better shooter. He could shoot from distance, and he, when he went to Milwaukee, he did blend with Jabbar and Dandridge and win the title. It didn't have to be his way.
He put his ego aside at least.
Yeah,
for a little
he
bit.
wanted that title,
Yeah.
and they were in the finals the year he retired too, I believe. I think in '74 they lost to the Celtics.
Yeah,
the
but-
Dave Cowan Celtics, I think.
Yeah, and he was a bench player by then. He didn't
Right.
start
Yeah, he
anymore.
was at the end of his career.
And
So
he was in the most inefficient era ever of basketball, and he's still more efficient than Russell Westbrook. In
Yeah.
a much harder era.
Yeah, I
Like
just
as
pulled,
far as what you're allowed to do defensively.
I pulled them up side by side here. Oscar's got him by a couple points. Their rebounds are almost identical. He's got him by an assist, and he shoots 5% better from the field and 5% better from the free throw line. And there's not a ton else to compare because there's no threes, steals,
Yeah.
blocks, turnovers, all that
It's
stuff.
hard because
so.
some of the stuff, like with Westbrook, like if you just, kind of like Alex says sometimes, like sometimes down the road, like someone's just going to look up Russell Westbrook's stats and be like, wow, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, Alex said that a few times. But if you actually watch him play, you can see that he fucks up all the time.
Yeah.
Like, so, but
When they see his turnover stat.
none of us really watched much of Oscar. I mean, most of us, we didn't watch Oscar. And Uncle Doug seems to watched him a little bit. But, so it's, I don't know.
I was a Jabbar fan.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
even
some of that's tricky.
even then, though, that wasn't like that. Definitely wasn't prime Oscar. You
No,
know, that was
no.
old man Oscar.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know who he was. My dad, of course, loved him, and I was a Jabbar fan. You got to remember when they won their title in '71 or whatever. I was 10, so I was a little kid.
By the way, let me while we're talking about Westbrook, I have a question. So, I was looking at Westbrook stats the other day because he is literally on, like, the morning shows. He's one of the leading stories like every day. Westbrook, I mean, how terrible he is, how much turnovers he has, how inefficient he is, all these things.
He has some god awful shot.
My
every game.
problem with it is though, is Westbrook didn't get shitty in the offseason. This is who Westbrook's been.
Right.
This is Westbrook. So, but let me give it to you like this. Westbrook's shooting 44.5% from the field this year. That's like above his career field goal percentage. He's shooting better than he does almost every year of his career this year. And because he plays for the Lakers and he's on TV every night, now we're talking about how inefficient he is.
Right. And he's playing with LeBron. And
Yes. And we have to have a scapegoat every time LeBron doesn't dominate.
Exactly.
And he is averaging 4.1 turnovers a game this year, which is not good. I'm not sticking up for it by any means. But it is the lowest turnover rate he's had since Kevin Durant played with him.
Well, I think the main part is with Russell's skill set and the way he plays, he can carry bad teams, and he's been on bad to mediocre teams at certain points, and he looks good. But the biggest problem with the way he plays is he doesn't fit in on really good teams because of the way he plays.
He doesn't fit in on super
Which-
teams.
Yeah. He didn't fit in with James Harden. He's the reason the Houston collapsed in the playoffs. Well, him and Harden. And then, I mean, he's the reason KD got mad and left. He's now not working with LeBron, but it worked. He carried the Wizards last year, the second half of the season in the playoffs. He carried the shitty Thunder team one year before Paul George got there into the playoffs and won an MVP. I mean, he can carry shitty teams. He just doesn't fit in with good teams because of the way he plays.
Okay. That's good.
Well, that's an interesting take. I hadn't thought, yeah.
Yeah.
Good call.
And then the final question in my opening statement is, does he translate in other eras?
I actually think, yes, he does.
Yeah.
I think because of his size, yeah, he'd be okay.
I think he has
Yeah.
underrated athleticism, too. If you watch him play, he kind of uses his intelligence and he kind of positions himself with his body to get where he wants. But then you can also, and then he would kind of change speeds a lot. But then you would see plays where he just put his head down and would kind of fake and then just blow past people. And there was a little clip they had in this interview where Chris Webber was showing Oscar himself a video of himself in high school, and he's jumping up and touching above the top of the square on the backboard. So, and he was a point guard. So, I think he was underrated as far as athleticism, even though I think most people think he's a good athlete. But
And that's what you're saying is almost exactly what Jabbar said about Oscar Robertson. I was reading
Yeah.
a thing that Jabbar said about him, and it was almost exactly what Wade just said.
I just watched a bunch of videos, so it might be one of the clips I listened to.
Well, I think all the things that I think if you take Oscar from 1 year in his career and just picked him up and transplanted him to today, we'd all laugh at him and think what he was doing was pathetic. But because the things he didn't do well is like dribble. He couldn't dribble with one of his hands,
Well, yeah.
But that's just something that would never happen today. They wouldn't let you get past junior high like
Yeah.
that.
It's just the evolution of the
Say,
sport.
he would just
Right.
grow up, the dribble with
Right.
both hands. It wouldn't.
And so, like, those are the things that you can pick at. Like, he never dunked the basketball. But, like you said, if you like Wade said, if you watch his highlights, you can see him laying the ball up above the rim. So he could have done it. It just wasn't something he did or they asked him to do.
His high school coach told him he wasn't allowed to dunk or he was going to get benched. I read that too. His high school coach said that he didn't want a bunch of showboats and he didn't want them to look like the Harlem Globetrotters. So
Wow.
if you were flashy and did some behind-the-back move or tried to dunk it, you weren't going to play on that team. So
Well, I mean, in his NBA career, they, over and over again, at least I've read, that he was, like, super, like, fundamental. And he always tried to make correct plays and was never, like, out of control.
Again, his high school coach was huge on fundamentals and stressed that to the nth degree.
One of the videos I watched, they compared how good he was at positioning his body into getting to where he wants to Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley's a very undersized big man that got wherever he wanted due to strength and positioning himself, with his big, huge ass and pushing people out of the way, and they were just good at it. And they kind of compared him because he was a big point guard. He was 6'5", wasn't he?
Yeah,
6'5".
And they said one of the guys on one of the things I was watching talking about how he could have played football. He was that athletic and strong, just naturally strong, and he got where he wanted. And it was just he had a lot of. He was naturally athletic. He had a lot of natural skill, I think, a lot of intelligence there, and he had natural vision, which I think all those would translate well.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought I'd ask questions this time around because I didn't watch him play, so I figured I'd just get everybody's opinion and then go from there. So
I like it. That's
So-
a nice intro.
I was going
Yeah.
to say the same
That's
thing. I kind of like that. That was a nice
That's
little
pretty
change
cool.
up there.
So yeah. So yeah, whoever's next.
All right. Well, that will lead us to Wade, who with the significant jump to 15 overall and number 3 on his point guard list.
I feel like we all just kind of partially spilled some
I'm
of the
gonna
opening
say
statement.
That's right. We
Yeah,
kind of
talked
covered
about
it.
him for like 10 minutes.
Well, part of it with Oscar is, I think the NBA was kind of built on the backs of Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain. They're the kind of the guys that grabbed it and took off with it and kind of made it somewhat into what it was going to be for a while. So they deserve a lot of credit for being pioneers and all that. And I've already said all of his natural ability that I think translates, so I don't have to recover that. He did. I don't remember which one of you brought up. Maybe both of you brought up his lack of postseason success up until he got Jabbar. I just came across a stat. Again, it's just stats. It doesn't prove everything, but I just thought it was kind of fascinating to what he was able to do. And a lot of the stuff I read, he did play. I saw Lucas was one of the first ones that Alex said, Jerry Lucas. But compared to the Sixers and Celtics, it wasn't even close. Because Jerry Lucas would get wiped out by Chamberlain and Russell in a matter of seconds. And then the rest of the teams were littered with 4 or 5 more Hall of Famers. Bill Russell had up to 8 other Hall of Famers at one time. And some of those 76er teams were loaded pretty close to Russell's teams.
Well, later in the
Oscars.
60s, it was more loaded. Like those late 60s was it the Warriors then? He was again with the Sixers and he went to the Warriors.
I don't remember which. It might have been. He was those Laker teams were loaded later on too.
Well, yeah, that
Yeah.
like the '69 Lakers are one of the biggest flops in NBA history. Like that's like
Well, I read
craziness.
one of the Sixer teams I believe Wilt was on had the wins record for a while in a season
Mhm.
until Jordan broke it with that 90, was it 96, 97 Bulls or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But my point was Oscar did have a couple good players, but they failed in comparison to the Celtics and Sixers or whoever Wilt was on, whatever team Wilt was on, because for a number of reasons. But I found this nice thing I figured I'd share for the first start of his career before he goes to Kareem. His team doesn't make the postseason, but he averages 30, 10, and just under 10 on 47% shooting. The next year they make the playoffs and lose to the Pistons. In the postseason, he averages just under 29, 11, and 11 on 52%, but they still lost. 62, they lose to the Celtics in the postseason. He averages just under 32, 13, and 9 on 47%. The next year, lose to the Celtics again. He averages 29, 9, and 8. Next year, 76ers in the postseason. He averages 28, 5, and 12 on 43% shooting. Next year, lose to the Celtics. Averages 32, 7, and 8 on 41% shooting in the postseason. Next year, lost to the Sixers. Averages 25, 4, and 11 on 52% shooting in the postseason. Next year, lost track of my spot.
71.
67. They don't make the postseason. He still averages 29, 6, and 10 on 50% shooting in the regular season. And then he doesn't make it again until he gets to Bar, but he puts up elite numbers for the rest of the seasons too. So he was killing people in the postseason, but the team just wasn't getting it done. Now, obviously, like we said earlier, we didn't actually watch him do this, so I don't know if he was a ball hog or if he wasn't a great team player, but he was killing people stat-wise. So I don't know. It's tricky. But another kind of fun stat, some people like to bring up the pace adjustment makes it easier back then to get rebounds, which is true. So it was easier for him to accumulate more rebounds for his triple-doubles. But it was also much, much harder to get assists back then. You often didn't get an assist unless your pass led to a wide-open layup. That's how they mostly viewed assists, or if it led to a very wide open jump shot. Instead of nowadays where you can kind of just simply pass the ball to someone, they can grab it, hang around for 15 seconds, dribble 3 or 4 times, step back and shoot it, and that's an assist. So rebounds were easier, assists were much harder, so it somewhat balances it out. And Oscar was doing things that we really never saw again until Magic Johnson, just to kind of put that in perspective, and Larry Bird. So, I mean, he was a dominant player. I think that's good enough for my opening statement.
He's a guy I've often wondered what his usage percentage would be. And we'll never know because we can't calculate it without the other stats.
It was,
But
some of the stuff I saw, it would have been high because they said
Yeah.
he always ran the show. And a couple of things, which can be a positive or a negative depending on the player. But
All right, well, that will lead us now to Drew, who has him a few spots higher at number 12 and number 2 on his point guard list.
Well, we've talked about Oscar for about 24 minutes now, so a lot has come out. But anyway, well, my thoughts on Oscar is I think he's a much, much better of what Russell Westbrook is. So all you younger listeners and people that haven't seen Oscar, just think of Westbrook, but not throwing the ball in the bleachers 5 times a game.
not as many brick shots.
I would like you to prove this to me. That he didn't throw the ball in the stands.
I mean, I haven't seen it.
You can't prove it, but you can't prove it.
Let's prove it.
Goes both ways.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he's definitely more efficient. We can't prove that than what Westbrook is. He's not. Team success is not there at the beginning, but I mean, no other team success was really around besides the Celtics then. So I mean,
Well, I mean,
another player in that era where team success wasn't really much for. Sometimes one team got one here.
Yeah, I would say if you got
like
one,
Bob
back then,
Pettit.
you were, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I meant to say it while Wade was talking and I forgot. Like, you notice, like, he lost in the first round of the playoffs every year. But there was only 4 teams made the playoffs. And if one of them is the Celtics, another one is Philly, like, he's going to probably catch one of them in the first round.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he had a couple years there. 1 year he played Syracuse, and 1 year he played Detroit. But the rest of them, it was either Philly or Boston. He caught in the first round.
Well,
Yeah.
There for a while, there was only like 8 teams in the whole league. It like
Yeah.
slowly moved up to like 11.
Yeah, because it's like, what is it, like the conference championship, and then you're in the finals.
There was like, what, 3-game series in the
Yeah, you played
playoffs?
3 games, and then you went to 7. It wasn't even compared to now. It's you got to play 3 full series of 7 games before you even get to the finals.
Yeah. I've seen some crazy stat where like, it's like, it took Bill Russell, I don't remember the amount. It was a super, super small amount of games to win a championship, and then it's like you have to win that many just to get to like the second round now or something like that, or
Well,
to get halfway through the second round or something like that.
Well, I know definitely Wade and I's fandom. I don't know about Drew, but I mean, when we were growing up, they played 5-game series in the first round.
Yeah,
I remember that a little.
That was
Yeah.
younger me that before they changed it back over. Yeah, I remember the 1st round. It was
Mhm.
just to speed some series up.
I mean, they do play a lot of games now, but at the same time, that's beneficial to great teams because it pretty much guarantees you're going to win because you have more time to play it out. You know, that's why nobody wants to play one game because they
All it takes is one bad night. And
exactly. That's why it was so huge when the We Believe Warriors beat Dirk and the Mavericks because it was like they didn't just beat them once; they beat them 4 times in 7 games. Like, you know, that's what we don't get upsets like that in the NBA. In the NFL, we see upsets because it's one game.
Yeah, or college, you know.
Yeah, in college
all you
basketball.
gotta do is kind of hang around and one. All you need is one crazy play, and you're
Mm-hmm.
right there.
I mean, in basketball, if you have if you're going to have to make the playoffs, you probably have a superstar on your team or a borderline superstar. If they have a great night, that can get you a win.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I interrupted you, Drew. Apologize.
I think I'm probably good for now. We can go on.
All right, and that will lead us finally to Uncle Doug at 11 overall and 2 on his point guard list.
Didn't even do anything.
Well, Oscar has 26,710 points. He's 15 on the all-time list. His scoring average is 9th, the top point guard. He's 87th on the rebound list. He is actually the number 2 average-wise rebounder. Jason Kidd's number 1. Assist-wise, he's 7th all-time, and his average is 3rd behind Magic and Stockton. He is one of only 3 players, 6'5" and under, to have a 900 rebound season. The other 2 are Elgin Baylor and Johnny Green. He played 1,126 games, including the playoffs. That's not just regulars, it's playoffs. And he had a triple-double in almost 17% of the games he played.
Wow.
16.8%. And I was, just doing some looking between him and ranking him overall and stuff. And he's got his MVP and 64, 31-4, 9-9, and 11-0. Almost averaged a triple-double that season. And then I noticed that he was second, 64-65. He was 30.4, 9, and 11.5. Well, let's see who won in 65. Well, no surprise, it was Russell. Bill Russell averaged 14 points, 24 rebounds, and 5 assists versus 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 11.5 assists. But I still don't think Oscar was the best player that year because the person that finished 5th in the MVP voting that year averaged 34.7 points, 22.9 rebounds,
Jesus.
and 3 assists.
Was it Will?
It was Wilt.
Yeah.
But he finished 5th in the MVP voting.
That's oof.
I looked at that and I thought, holy cow.
Well, that was it. Last episode, I read that one year where there's 6 of them that put up those insane stats. Which episode was that? Because it was his triple double year, Wilt's 50-point year.
Yeah.
Russell won the MVP still. And
Right.
Pettit, West, and Baylor all put up astronomical numbers too, and Russell, who still had really good numbers, but probably the worst of the 6, won the MVP.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I do like Oscar. I understand reading some interesting stories about his childhood, and I don't want to get into a whole race discussion and all that. That's not what we're here for. But he faced some tough things, and he was kind of bitter about some of that. I would imagine he found a bit of a kindred spirit. I mean, Jabbar was didn't face all that he faced, but Jabbar probably would have been sympathetic. And I would imagine that they were probably good teammates and probably, could talk a lot, visit a lot. He was probably comfortable with Jabbar. And obviously Jabbar was somebody that was unbelievably talented at that time. And, like Alex mentioned earlier, getting on his teammates, Jabbar probably was not somebody he had to get on very often.
Yeah.
And Dandridge, Bobby Dandridge is not somebody we've really talked about, but Bobby Dandridge was a good player too. And so the three of them together, Oscar didn't have to carry the load. And I would imagine at that point in his career, it was probably a relief to be able to just go out and play, distribute the ball to somebody like Jabbar, like Dandridge. And, that was probably a really good fit for him.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he probably had some hard feelings about getting traded, and I know people in Ohio weren't happy, it was probably a really good thing for him to finish his career with those Bucks teams.
Well, just think about it. Ohio sports, even now, don't ever have success. And we're going to trade away the greatest player in the history of our state?
Right.
Like, it'd be like, what if the Cavs traded LeBron?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a very similar thing. Oscar was considered one of, if not the greatest player of all time during this era. So, I mean, like, what if the Cavs traded LeBron?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's really what we're looking at here.
Right.
Bengals trade Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe
Exactly.
Shiesty.
Well, and we've made the comparison with he and Westbrook because of the triple double thing, but a couple of the articles I read to try to bring him into context for younger people like Drew, they said Oscar was a better version of James Harden.
Interesting.
Somebody that more point guard version of James Harden. So that's another maybe comparison to give you a thought about what kind of player he was. And when you're thinking, Bob Cousy, most point guards were 6 foot, 6'1", 5'10", 5'11", and here's Oscar at 6'5".
Well, they're talking about
a big change.
At 205, he played like a bully. Like he would just he played in the post so much because he would just bully other point guards up to the basket and then lay it in.
Yeah. Well, and Jabbar said he could rebound with guys 5 and 6 inches taller than him because of the way, like Wade said, he positioned his body. He knew how to box out. He was fundamentally very sound.
But before I forget, I do have some info for your MVP discussion. The reason Wilt didn't win the MVP that year is because that was the year he was traded midseason because he was refusing to play basketball games.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Because
I sure thought that looked funny.
He forced his way out of Philly, or which one did he do? I've said, does he go from Philly to the Warriors or from the Warriors to Philly?
I never remember either.
I think he goes from the Warriors to Philly. I don't, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't remember either. Yeah.
I feel like he got drafted by the Warriors.
Well, I can click on him right
Oh,
now.
Alex is looking this up. I got a TikTok.
Oh, the TikTok guy.
Joe Burrow could be the first quarterback to win a Heisman, a national championship, and a Super Bowl.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That is cool. He went from so he goes from, he moves cities, but he's still a Warrior.
Okay.
And then he goes from the Warriors to Philly.
Oh,
Okay, so he started off.
He goes from the Philadelphia Warriors out
Yes.
to San Fran. Then he goes back to
And he got
Philadelphia.
traded back to Philadelphia, but a different team.
Yeah, it's a 76.
Okay, that's why it's so confusing.
Okay.
Yes. So he played in Philadelphia twice, but for two different franchises.
Two different teams. Okay, gotcha.
Uh-huh.
So, yes. But, yeah, that was the year he forced his way out to go, and nobody would vote for him because of the way he did it.
Okay. Well,
And
good info.
this isn't info it's info, but it hasn't. I don't know if this is the reason. I just looked it up. The Celtics won 62 games that year and were the best record in the NBA. And Cincinnati won 48 games and barely made the playoffs.
I think that was the case almost all years when the Celtics had an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
They were usually the best or second best team in the league, wins wise. That's probably why Russell and Cousy had, what a combined. How many did Cousy win?
One.
Was it just one, really?
MVP, yeah.
I thought it was 2 or 3.
He won at Russell's rookie year.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because between 60 and 68, Oscar won 1 MVP, and Wilt and Russell won all the rest.
Well, after Robertson's MVP, only centers win the MVP until somewhere in the 80s, I think.
I think you're right.
When Magic and Bird start winning MVPs.
Yeah.
Like,
Really?
only centers. It's,
The league has changed a lot.
Russell and Wilt, but Willis Reed gets one, Bill Walton gets one, Unseld gets one, Kareem wins 5. Yeah.
It kind of sounds remind me.
Russell has 5 too, right? And then Wilt has how many?
4, I think.
Yeah.
I think he has one less than, but I could be wrong. I thought he had one less
Kareem
than.
has 6.
Yeah.
No, Kareem does. I thought you said
Yeah.
Wilt.
No, you said before that Kareem had 5.
Yeah, Kareem has 6. Yeah,
Yeah,
Kareem has
Kareem's got
6.
6.
Yeah,
He's got more than
sorry.
Jordan, I think, actually.
Yeah.
'Cause Jordan's got 5, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
Regular season ones.
Yeah. Yep.
What I wanted to say was, this reminds me of right now in LA, I'm writing a paper about the Heisman Trophy. The Heisman Trophy was dominated by running backs. Like
Yeah,
in the
that's
early,
true.
it was just all running backs, and now
Well-
it's kind of shifted to quarterbacks a lot.
Yeah. I'd say that's a perfect comparison because football used to be all running. Basketball used to be all dump it off to the big man. That's a perfect comparison, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact years, but it's like 64. So that's Oscars. Like 64 to like 81 or something. It's like
Yeah.
all centers.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that in another episode with the guy that broke the streak. I can't remember who it was now.
Was it Doc? Did Doc win the first one after that?
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it?
Because Doc won the MVP in what, 80 or 81?
Yeah, I think.
Doesn't Moses Malone have 3?
Yeah, Moses Malone has 3. There's no
Right,
center.
there's another one.
None of those dominant guards or forwards won.
Rick Barry didn't win any. Gervin didn't win any.
I was going to ask Irvin.
Jerry West. And
Weston Baylor didn't win any.
Yeah, because we talked about that shit. and Baylor and Weston was
Havlicek didn't win. Cowens won one, but not
Yeah,
Havlicek.
right, he's a center.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is.
Frazier didn't win one, did he? With
No,
the
No.
Knicks?
but Reed got one.
No Earl Monroe or
No, it was always the big man.
Spencer Busher. Huh.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy.
That is
Bob
indeed.
Pettit.
So was that the end of your statement, Uncle
Yep, that's it.
All
Is that the
right.
longest opening statements in podcast history?
It's gotta be. It's almost 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's a pretty good opening statements there. I gotta say again, I really like to raise questions. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we
Interesting.
just go to litigation real quick?
We might as well.
We're pretty far
Yep,
in here.
let's do it.
All right. Ray, I've
All
only
right.
got one for you, buddy.
Okay.
And I said off air, I struggled with litigation this week. It was kind of a mess. So I'm just going to ask some things I find interesting.
Okay.
You're by far not the only one to do this, but I want to know why you got Oscar ahead of CP3.
I got Oscar ahead of who?
Chris Paul.
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know why that is. Probably because the triple double stat really just blows him out of the water, and the title. So that's double duty for Oscar Robertson. I mean, Chris Paul is the all around, like I've said before, mold of a point guard, but he hasn't won a title, and he always kind of falters in the playoffs. So
Well, let me ask you this.
okay,
If Chris Paul went and played with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, do you think he'd win a title?
well, fuck yeah. I mean, that's not even a question.
I think if anyone plays with Kareem, you can win a title.
Yeah, he
Well,
got a good
yeah.
shot at it.
Yeah,
Good
dump
shot.
it down.
It,
dump
seems,
in.
the damn
it
thing,
seems
yeah.
to take a point guard, though, because he never won one without either
Magic or
Oscar. No, I mean, he played with other Hall of Famers, but they never got it done. So it seems he needed a point guard, it looks like.
Most big men need someone to give them the ball.
Yeah,
All right, Ray, I'm done with you, man.
sweet.
Drew,
Wow. Oh boy.
I find this one interesting. You know, you're not the only one that did it, obviously, because two of you have him at 2 and one of you at 3. But why Oscar over Curry?
Yeah.
More MVPs, more titles.
It's true. That's true. I think with Ray, just with the triple double stuff, and Neither of them have Finals MVPs. I'm not even gonna say. I can always do that one name.
That's good stuff.
So I mean, that'd be like, I don't know. I think Oscar winning his MVP too, kind of in that big man era, like we just talked about. I think that was pretty impressive for him to get one out of that because we saw how hard they were to get from them.
You mean this isn't a big man era?
No. Not when. Oh shoot, what's his name?
It's only like 2 centers that are
I was
you
say.
consistently play now in today's.
I'm trying to think of some goofy center who would never last. Crap, I can't think. What's this goofy center? I can't think.
Hold
of it
on, I'm
right
sorry. Ray and I were having a side combo. What were you
I'm trying to name some goofy center that would never play in the primetime center basketball.
Most of the centers in the league right now.
Yeah, but I can't think of this one really.
Enos Cantor. Does he work?
He works. That works for my example. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's probably why.
All right, and I got one more for you, Drew.
Okay.
This is the first time we've had anybody on your
no.
list ahead of old Bob. Why you got Oscar ahead of Bob? Bob got more MVPs. He's got the title. You know what's up, man?
I don't know what I was doing, Bob.
Because I mean, he did beat the Celtics. He is so.
beat the Celtics.
What's up, man?
I don't know, honestly. Now that you're telling me all this, why? You're just feeding more Bob, Alex. You're gonna make it worse.
Great.
I don't know. I'm probably gonna go with the triple double. How much I value him getting that triple double, and there's a couple other seasons where he was like 0.1 of rebounds away from getting.
Yeah, he did have a season where he was, like 30 and 11, and it was 9.9.
Yeah, I think he did that a couple times maybe, and he barely made the playoffs and he couldn't get out, but he was just putting up stat after stat. And when people hear that, they think, "Oh, look at Russell Westbrook, he's doing that." But no, I just think Oscar's totally different than that. He's not. He's more efficient and just.
I do wish that, not that I wish all of us to be old and could have watched him play in his heyday, but I mean, like, I wish there was videos that we could go back and watch.
I would like to have seen him during this triple-double season.
Right.
During some of those seasons in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the little bit I saw him was right at the end of his career, and I was a kid watching Jabbar.
His rebounds couldn't be any worse than freaking Steven Adams and whoever else was on that Thunder team boxing everyone out and clearing the lane for Westbrook just to jump in there and get a rebound. I mean,
yeah,
it can't be any worse than that, let's be honest.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Fair enough. All right. I'm done with you, Drew. Uncle Doug.
Yep.
Got 2 for you as well.
Okay.
Why Oscar ahead of the Dream?
Okay, well, I told Drew as we were driving up you were going to ask that question. So I prepared for it.
I have a special place in my heart for the Dream.
I know you do. And, statistically, we can go back and forth, and
it's hard to compare point guards and centers. 'Cause
right.
It's like, Oscar averages more assists than Dream. Dream averages more rebounds. Like,
right.
You're supposed to.
and Akeem's got 2 titles to the 1. They both have an MVP. But I Googled greatest NBA players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the top 4 sites that came up.
Mm-hmm.
It's Complex, Hoop Hype, ESPN, Bleacher Report. Complex has Oscar at 13, Elijah 1 at 14. I have him at 11 and 12, I think. Hoops Hype has Oscar at 12 and Elijah 1 at 11. Just flip-flopped him. ESPN has Oscar at 11, Elijah 1 at 12.
Mm.
And Bleacher Report has Oscar at 11 and Elijah 1 at 13.
Mm.
Wow.
All very close.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I was at. They're very close.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then my next one for you, Uncle Doug, is why Oscar ahead of Durant.
Okay, let me look at my people here.
I was just looking at this. This is the way I looked at it when I was asking the question. Was they both have 1 MVP. Durant has more titles, but the super team thing, I don't know that really plays too much into this because Oscar went and joined up with kind of a super team, I guess. So So I was like, this is interesting.
Where do? Sorry, I'm having trouble. I've got 2 different books going now.
Oh, did you run out of pages in your first
Yes, I ran out of pages in my first book, so I had to look back.
book? Drew, you about out of pages there?
Yeah, I'm getting close. I just showed Wade another TikTok.
Oh boy.
Kyle Shanahan is now known for the person that keeps blowing leads. He blew the largest lead in Super Bowl history, largest lead in Super Bowl fourth quarter history, and the largest lead in NFC Championship fourth quarter history.
I did
Wow.
see that today, yeah.
Jeez.
It's not good. It's not good.
Well, Durant has him by a couple of points. Oscar actually out rebounds him slightly. But then Oscar's got him by about 5 assists, and that's probably why.
Fair enough. All right, I'm done with you. And Wade.
Okie dokie.
Wade.
Yep.
No, Wade.
Wait, what?
Wade, why
D
Wade?
Wade.
D-Wade.
I was doing that on purpose. I'm sorry. I was just messing with you. But that's how I have it written on my page. It says Wade-Wade, and I was like, Wade, Wade. Why Oscar ahead of D Wade?
That's a good one. I think Oscar has a much bigger, obviously, historical impact on the game. That's probably honestly the main reason. I mean, Oscar's the better passer. Probably even put up better rebounding stats. Probably outscored him. But we don't know about 3-point shooting, but he was probably a better shooter. Don't know that for sure, though. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a good one. I have them right next to each other. So, I mean,
Yeah,
It's a good-
I
good
kind of went.
conversation.
I kind of went a similar direction with that one as I did with the Durant one. I was like, oh, they had some success and put up some good numbers and everything like that, and then they joined with the best player in the league and won championships.
yeah.
And
And D Wade has some stuff on him too. Dwayne Wade's one of the best slashers ever. Did play in obviously a tougher era of basketball.
and they're similar sized.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so D Wade was a phenomenal defender for at least a short period of time in his prime before injuries kind of bugged him. Which Oscar, I think, was a good defender, but I don't know how great he was. I'm not sure, to be completely honest.
Yeah, me neither.
I read that he was a good defender, but I didn't read anything special. But D Wade almost won a Defensive Player of the Year award that Uncle Doug said
Mhm.
in the D Wade episode. So yeah, he goes back and forth, but probably what puts him over the edge is league MVP in that era, like Drew said, very impressive, and his historical impact is just as big, if not bigger, than anyone in NBA history. So.
All right. Well, I'm done.
Oh, okay.
Anybody have anything for me before we shut down?
never
litigation?
looked
Yeah.
at your fucking list.
Yeah, I'm actually ready this time.
All right.
It's not like I don't ask you all one at a time, so you have plenty of time to look.
Why do you have Chris Paul ahead of Oscar?
Ooh.
Well, it's no secret. I hold things against old guys. I thought Wade and I were on the page with this until
Yeah,
Wade came
I'm
at
not
15.
the old guy hater for once. This is a change of pace.
So I hold the era against him, and I do hold the lack of success against him. Not maybe as strongly as some other things, but he I kind of look at Oscar as like the big stats, bad team guy a little bit, where it was just, his big stats didn't even lead to the playoffs sometimes. And it was, it's kind of the way I looked at it with, Chris Paul makes every team he's on better, regardless of whether it ends up in a championship or not. Every team he goes to becomes better and usually significantly better. Even the Thunder team that had 2 superstars on it the year before. So that's where I'm at with Chris Paul.
All right.
Anybody else?
I had one that stuck out to me. Where'd it go? Oh, I was kind of curious about Patrick Ewing and Dr. J.
Doc, better era, and similarly, couldn't get it done until he joined a dominant big man.
Mm-hmm.
So they both have that for him. So that's why I gave Doc the nod. Just, but a much better era, and I can go back and look at anything I want from Doc, so I can answer all these questions.
Fair point.
I guess I missed out on. I can't go back and look at ABA stuff, but I can look at all his NBA stuff. And who was the other one? Wade, I'm sorry.
Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing. This one I went back and forth with a little bit, but I think it boiled down to I just went and said, if Ewing joined Jordan, he would have won championships too. And that's kind of the way I looked at it, and maybe that was the wrong way for me to look at it, but I did do that with a few guys on the list. Like, well, they went and joined up with some superstars and got a title out of it, and like, so then did they, could these other guys have done that too? Probably. I mean, we're talking about the 50 greatest players of all time. If they started forming teams amongst each other, I'm sure they'd win some championships.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the way I looked at it. But I'm going to be honest with you. My feelings about Patrick Ewing, depending on the day, fluctuate.
Why?
Like, no, seriously. Like, some days I'm like, he was a big stats, bad team guy, and when it mattered, he never showed up. He was a buster. He's not one of those guys we look at his playoff numbers and go, damn. He's not.
He got shut down by some other centers a few times.
Yeah. And, it's just, and I go back and forth. But then I'm like, well, he did play in, like, maybe the most dominant center era of all time. So maybe if he played in a different era, Ewing would have showed out more. And, like I said, I just go back and forth on Ewing. So, I don't know.
And probably the big deal with Ewing is he'd been so wore out throughout the whole regular season because he had shit for fucking teammates that he just couldn't show up.
He had one of your top 50 players playing with him.
But I mean,
He got you on that one.
all right, well, we're going to end it there. I'm done with talking.
Hall of Fame. Oh, wait. Never mind.
Oh.
That's funny.
Okay.
I got one more, Alex.
All right, what's
I
up?
found it. Elgin Baylor, kind of same era. So I'm wondering why, since Elgin has no championships and no MVP.
No, I thought this would come up because I noticed it earlier myself because I was looking to see what old players I had ranked ahead of him. Obviously I knew I had Russell and Wilt ahead of him, but I did see Baylor ahead of him. And Baylor doesn't have a championship. He missed it by 25 games or something. But I don't really know why I have why I have Elgin ahead of Oscar. It could have boiled. It might. I don't know, but it might have boiled down to it's time for a small forward, and then it was time for a point guard later. I don't know. It might. I honestly don't. But Elgin, I don't think Oscar's stats are any more impressive than Elgin's. Elgin's stats are stupid.
That is true.
He didn't get to the triple-double because he didn't have the assist numbers, but he outscored Oscar. He out-rebounded Oscar. Playing on in the same era. So I mean, it's a pretty apples to apples comparison as far as that. So yeah, I don't know.
I was just wondering, same era, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, I think that ends litigation. Sounds
All right. Well, that'll wrap up litigation. Do we have anything else we want to do before we go into closing statements? We pretty much covered Oscar.
I think so.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Well, do we want to go in reverse order from earlier, Uncle Doug?
Sure. Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything there is to cover about Oscar that we know.
Right.
It is a very good point that some of these old guys, you just don't see everything. So you kind of have to piece it together. But I'm pretty comfortable with where I have Oscar on my list. I think he did some pretty amazing things in a really tough. I mean, it wasn't the best time in basketball, but it was a tough time to win MVPs and win titles because of Russell and Chamberlain.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. Drew?
Like I said earlier, with the MVP and like we've talked a couple episodes now about the center dominant MVP's winnings all the way up until Dr. J and Larry and Magic, and then it was big guy after big guy winning it, and then Oscar just pops up and gets this one, and then they go back to winning them all. I mean, he might have been able to get a couple more, you just don't know. We've talked about the voting back then forever, and it's going to come up again here in a couple episodes with Wilt and Russell, but I just think Oscar gets a little underappreciated because now with Russell Westbrook averaging the triple-double, they associate the two together. So I think some people do that.
I don't think it's just that they associate them together that hurts. It's now we've discredited the triple-double.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's a good point.
The triple-double wasn't as big as a deal back when he played. Now it's some people just...
Well,
It wasn't even called a triple-double back then.
right. You know, when Magic and Bird and them started doing that, it became a big deal. And then when Westbrook did it, it kind of,
Well,
It's
not just Westbrook. I mean, Westbrook's made it more famous, but everybody does it now.
Right.
All the stars do.
Like, if Luka continues to do what he's doing, he's going to shatter Russell Westbrook's record.
Jokic is now putting
Yeah,
up crazy
Jokic too.
amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is putting triple doubles, and I think, like Wade talked about earlier, it was easier to get rebounds for Oscar. I think there's another case to be made that Westbrook has it easier getting them because there's so many long rebounds.
And
so
assists
guards
are
don't
8 times easier.
Yeah, because guards don't have to go down in the post to get rebounds. They can just catch all these threes that ricochet off the rim and bounce way out. And as long as you hustle to the ball, you can get some
And
rebounds.
people don't box out anymore.
That's what I
so
was
you
about to
can
say,
just
people-
run free.
And some people don't even try. Like, there's some times in basketball where no one on the offense even crashes. They just make a circle around it and they let Westbrook get it. So
And talking about the triple-double, I don't know this for a fact, but I heard on a podcast, I believe, might have been a Bill Simmons podcast, to be honest, that the term triple-double was invented by a sports writer covering Magic Johnson, and he was trying to figure out a way to emphasize how great of an all-around player Magic Johnson was. So he started calling that a triple-double when you got, obviously, the triple-double. So even back when Oscar played, I don't think it was even called a triple-double. If that fact is true.
Does anybody know how do they refer to it? Like, what do they call it? Like, did you see he got double digits in 3 stats tonight?
They might have had to go back and look at what limited film or box scores that they had just to figure out how many he probably had later on. To be my guess. I mean, I don't think they kept track. They didn't keep track of steals and blocks. They're definitely not gonna keep track of triple doubles back then.
I'm not saying they kept track of them, but I just mean like you said, there has to be something somewhere that we can count them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because they have an exact number in the record books of how many he had.
I'm sure they had the box scores stashed somewhere. I can't think of it, stored or whatever. So I'm sure they could go back and say, oh, okay, he had blah blah blah. This many this season, this many that season, and look. But there's not a lot of video evidence of proving it.
No, not at all. There's not even a lot of highlight packages.
No. There's a couple on YouTube that are like a minute and 54 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you were you done, Drew?
yep, I'm done.
Wade?
I think if you're a basketball fan, you know who Oscar is. You know he's an all-time great historic figure. So I figured I'll just tell kind of a fun story. One of his go-to shots was this automatic baseline jumper that he was really, really good at. And there was kind of a weird reason because of that. When he would go into the gymnasium to shoot, obviously when you go into a gym, usually like in high school or whatever, you have the 2 main hoops in the main court, and then they will bring those side baskets down and let people shoot on the side baskets like they do for PE or for certain practices or whatever. He would always come in and shoot on the side baskets while people were getting up and down and scrimmaging or playing whatever. So when you're playing on those side baskets, you can't get out in front of the key or you're in the way of the game that's going on. So he just constantly stood on the baselines where he was out of the way of the court and just shot baseline jumpers all day long until it was his turn to jump in and play. That's why he's so good at the baseline jumper.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty good story. I like that.
All right, Ray.
I don't think I have really a whole lot to add. Phenomenal player. Master at the point guard craft, for real. The triple-double just vaults him on the list for me. When you compare him to Westbrook, there's really not a comparison. I mean, Oscar's way more efficient. Westbrook, I don't know what he's doing with his career. I got to give him props. He got the triple-double record, but, I mean, you have nothing to show for that. So I don't really know what you're doing with your life, to be totally honest. Other than that, I mean, the only thing you can really compare is the 60s to maybe today's game. The pace of play is probably similar, but the only thing difference is probably the 60s were more defensive orientated, unlike today where it's just popping threes because that's what analytics tell you to do. But I feel like Oscar gets a nod above a lot of people because of the era. And, I mean, just like I said, you compare him to Westbrook, but it's really not a comparison. But just, I mean, there's a lot of old people haters in here, sitting right next to one called Alex. But, I mean, that dude destroyed the 60s, and that's a big-time accomplishment. I mean, when you destroy the whole decade worth of players in that era, you got to give the man a nod. So that's where I'm at.
Can I ask you a question real quick, Ray?
Is it going to involve Bob Cousy?
There is going to be a Bob Cousy portion of this question.
Okay.
Well, this is my question.
Okay.
You mentioned the triple-double a ton of times tonight.
Yeah.
And then you discredited Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned the era.
Yeah.
And everything. And then you have Bob Cousy like 30 spots ahead of like 25 spots ahead of Oscar. So can you kind of illuminate me on your reasoning behind these things?
Also, you don't have Bob Pettit on your list. Well, I'm just throwing that out there while we're talking about.
Well, I mean, that's not a mistake. Let's be real. But anyway, no, the way Cousy played is, as much as Wade hates it, I feel like the obscurity of his play kind of shoots him up the ladder for me. Maybe he's a little too high, maybe he's not. That's up for whatever discussion, which we've already had. So you can kiss my ass. But I mean, Oscar had 10 years in Cincy, and whether it was the people he played with or whatever, he didn't do anything for 10 years except for throw up phenomenal stats. It took him going to Milwaukee to do something. And I throw Russell Westbrook out there because he had phenomenal stats on the 3 different fucking teams that he had, didn't do anything, get traded to a super team, and still can't do fucking shit. So that's why I throw Westbrook's name around a lot, just to throw the comparison out there and show that Oscar Robertson, put in a certain situation, did what Westbrook couldn't do and take a back seat and still throw up phenomenal numbers and win a title. Westbrook seems like he just can't figure out what the fuck he needs to do to win games. And it's just boggles the mind where he throws up all these killer stats and he just blows everything and just discredits the whole triple-double. Which you look at Oscar Robertson, and he put it down for 40 fucking years and made it legit, and Westbrook just made it just not worth a fuck anymore, and that's why I throw them both around.
So what I'm hearing from you, Ray, is that at the end of this, Westbrook is going to be on your list.
Fuck no. That is not what you're hearing.
Kevin Love has a better chance than Westbrook does.
I got Q-tips in the bathroom, bro. We can clean your ears out and figure that out. But hell no.
Oh, man. Sorry, I had to say that.
But, yeah, that's where I'm at. That's why I throw them around, because I'm just trying to credit one and discredit the other.
All right. Well, that leads to me. I think most everything's been said about Oscar tonight. I don't know if we've said it tonight, though. The big O. Has anybody actually said that tonight? Have we gone the entire hour and 4 minutes without saying the big O?
I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think we have.
I like his nickname, the Big O.
I don't know. Mr. Triple Double is kind of growing on me. I saw that up there.
And where's Ozzy come from?
We don't know.
Okay.
But I will say this. I do, after looking today, I do think Oscar's going to come up my overall list a little bit. I don't know quite why I have him at 33. I think I kind of said that earlier. I'm a little confused. I'm not saying he's going to jump as high as some of you guys have him, but I do think Oscar's going to come up my list a little bit. I think that's all I got for my closing statement. So that'll end our Oscar Robertson portion of this episode and lead us to Drew in trivia.
All right. What number 1 seed had the least amount of wins? So, I'm not looking for the team. I'm looking for the amount of wins they had. It's the least amount of wins that number 1 seed ever had.
Like a playoff number 1 seed?
Yeah.
Like
Playoff number 1 seed. Least amount of wins they had.
Okay.
So, basically, kind of the worst 1 seed ever in NBA history. And it was during the NBA when they played a minimum of, they have like 81, 82 games.
Okay.
So it's not something
That helps.
It's not like when they played. I don't know. They're old.
Okay.
When did they start playing 82 games? Because I mean, like all these teams have 82 games. Like we're looking at in the 60s and stuff. So I mean, like it was at the 40s, the 50s when they started playing the 82 games.
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe we can Google it. Maybe do a trivia question.
Mm.
Okay. So, worst 1 seed ever. Okay.
Yeah. How many games did they win? That's all I need. Just the win.
Just the number.
Just the number.
Got it.
Not asking for the team.
All right, I got to guess.
All right. I guess.
We all got a yes.
Yeah, I got a number.
I got one.
Sam.
Said 55.
I said 48.
Said 50.
49.
The answer is 44.
Ooh.
Wow.
The Golden State Warriors in 1967 were 44 and 37.
That'd have been was that no? That'd have been after Wilt.
That's insane.
Damn.
Who was in the conference?
Wow.
Like I find it hard to believe that the Celtics and the 76ers and them didn't win 44 games.
Yeah.
What year? What year did you
I think
say?
1967.
Wasn't there a year Russell got hurt?
I don't think so.
I could have.
I closed my computer already because we were doing trivia. So like I always close it for trivia. So
It's not that big a deal.
I don't know.
All right. I have one.
All right.
All right. In 1998, Michael Jordan won MVP. Dikembe won Defensive Player of the Year. Tim Duncan won Rookie of the Year. Who won Sixth Man of the Year?
1998, huh?
6th man, correct?
Yes. Just for fun, Larry Bird was Coach of the Year that year for the Indiana Pacers. And some guy I never heard of was Most Improved Player.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you his name in a second.
Well, I'm going to write down my Indiana player, I guess.
I got a yes.
I don't.
I know. I think. I don't either. I know this player has one, but I don't know if this is the right year or not. Well, I'm pretty sure he has one.
All right, I got to guess.
I gotta
Ready?
guess.
Yeah.
What we got?
I put Larry Johnson.
I said Kobe.
I said Kobe.
I said Austin Crozier.
That's funny. Kobe got second. Danny Manning won.
Oh, Danny Manning.
Danny Manning, it was actually one of 2 players ever to have 2 major knee constructions on both knees and come back and play or something like that. It was some crazy stat like that.
Wow.
So who was the most
back
improved
and-
guy?
It is Alan Henderson. Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
don't think I know who that is either.
Played for the Atlanta Hawks. He went from like 6 points a game to 14.
Okay.
He did improve. I'll give him
That's an
that.
improvement.
All right, who would like to go next?
You're me.
You go ahead.
All right, got it. I didn't do the draft this time because we mentioned Oscar and Jerry West were the top of that from Cincinnati and West Virginia. But I went with the triple-double theme. This year, as of today, I looked it up before I came. Number 1 on the NBA triple-double list is Jokic at 12. Westbrook and Harden are tied at 3 with 9. Who's number 2 with 10?
Everyone does it now, damn it. It's
Yeah, but I want to say everyone does it now. There's not like even some people that don't.
Yeah. I got like 2 or 3 players in my mind.
I
gotta
know,
figure
me
out
too.
which one.
Oh my gosh.
Gosh dang it. This is gonna make me mad.
I swear to God, if it's Draymond, I'm gonna be pissed. God damn, I can't narrow it down.
I wrote something down.
This is gonna make me
Do
mad.
I write Draymond?
The
How
memes.
big is your ego to not write down Draymond?
Your lead has not been cut to in yet.
I don't even care. It's fine. All right.
And by the
I don't know. All right, I'm ready. It's pure guess.
Ray, you got something?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
I put LaMelo Ball.
I put Trey Young.
Giannis.
I went Indiana again. Sabonis.
Well, you're closest probably. DeJounte Murray for the Spurs.
Wow.
He's averaged like 19, 8, and 8 this year.
It's Jokic, Murray, James Harden and Westbrook, Luka, Sabonis, then Jimmy Butler and Ball,
Wow.
and then Giannis.
I was gonna say, damn, we're close. No Draymond though.
No Draymond.
Good.
He got to score 10.
Yeah.
All right, Ray.
All right. Prior to selecting Patrick Ewing with the number 1 pick, when was the last time the Knicks had a number 1 selection, and who did they take?
We gotta answer both.
If you have, okay, so it's a year and a player. If you have either one, I'll give it to you.
I still don't feel good about it.
No.
Oh, man.
And Patrick Ewing was 85.
I can't remember the guy's name. I'm trying to think of him.
All right. I have an answer.
I have
an answer.
I've answered both, and I just threw something down on both of them trying to hit something.
All right.
Yeah, I just wrote you down. Okay.
All right.
All right. I put the 63-64 season, Willis Reed.
Okay.
I put 1971 and Bernard King.
I put Bernard King.
I put 69 and Bill Bradley.
Okay. It was 66, and it was Cassie Russell.
Oh, I remember Cassie.
I don't.
Oh, that's the guy who I was talking about in the. I was talking about Rick Barry in one of the last few episodes. Damn it. Who were we talking about in the last one?
D Wade was the last one, wasn't it?
Maybe it was the one before that.
Kevin Durant episode.
I don't remember. Never mind. Mow over.
We're really tearing up trivia today. Aren't we?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
No joke. All right. The reigning Defensive Player of the Year is currently in 3rd place in blocks per game in the NBA. Can you name the 2 guys ahead of him? You don't have to have an order.
Oh, jeez, Louise. Mm-hmm. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I got an answer.
All right. I got something ridiculous.
Something ridiculous, though, he
Yeah.
said.
Something ridiculous.
Never mind. Hold up. Hold up. Let me erase it.
up. Wait a minute. I'm not going to finish what I'm going to say.
Yeah, we know the lyrics of that song.
Uncle Doug, you're awful quiet over there.
Yeah, I got a guess for one. Not good.
I'm ready whenever.
So, do we have to get both of them, or if we get one, do we get a point?
Both of them.
That's bullshit.
Ooh.
Well, I think one of
Laying
them
it
is
down.
really, really obvious. That's why I asked for
No
both.
clue.
Is that everybody?
I think so.
Yeah, go ahead.
I put Clint Capella and Miles Turner.
But the same thing.
Yeah.
I put Giannis.
And I put Miles Turner and Gobert.
Gobert is the reigning.
He's the
defensive player of
reigning.
year.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that was the problem I had too.
Did me and Drew get it?
It is Miles Turner and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Ah,
Yeah, say it.
we got one.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. I thought Miles Turner was obvious. That's why it is like, I don't know about one.
Well, damn it, Alex. I guess I need the Q-tips and go clean my ears out.
Well, I will say we just had a scoreless week. So the scores are still as follows. Ray with 20. Doug and Drew with 44. Alex with 51. And Wade with 58. And Wade's lead was not cut into this week. We appreciate you tuning in for our Oscar Robertson episode, and please tune in next week for our Moses Malone episode.
Prepared.
Yeah, I have it this week.
Finally ready.
And thanks for tuning in to Sports the NEMO Way.